Hi students, how are you? Thanks for all your answers. Many of you have actually answered it properly, correctly. You have understood. There is no other explanation required. This was the question I gave you in the last class and many of you have actually answered it beautifully, and many send me solution in WhatsApp. I couldn't actually go through each and everybody's solution, but I actually seen most of them. Okay. Now the answers were like this one. The answers like the mean value was 2.62 second, and error in the first value 0.01, second one 0.06, third one 0.20, 0.09, 0.18. And the mean absolute error was 0.11 second. So your final answer will be 2.62 plus or minus 0.11 second. That was answered. Fine. Now there was one more question. Let the result of a measurement is 100 plus or minus 2 meter. Everyone has answered this correctly, and if you want I can just show you the answers. I think it's not required because once you know that one, there is no meaning in me telling again and again, and that can become boring. What is the true value here? What is the true value? 100 unit meter. This is the true value. That should be taken. The first part is taken as a true value. Which is absolute error here? That is like either you can write plus or minus, or simply 2 meter is the absolute. What is the range of the value? Range of the value means what? I told you 100 minus 2, that is 98 meter, to 100 plus, that is 102 meter. This is the range of the value. What is the relative error? Relative error is what? How do we get relative error? 2 meter by 100, that gives you 1 by 50 is the relative error. And how do we get the percentage? 1 by 50 into 100, so you'll get 2% as the answer. These are the answers to that question, and almost all of you have done this beautifully. And there were somebody who got confused about the range of the values, but doesn't matter, now it's okay. Okay, fine. Now we will move on. And hereafter it's all numericals, okay, so be careful about that one. I happen to measure a rectangle, see this rectangle, and I measured its length and the breadth. Of course, you know, whenever we measure things, there will be errors. So this side is the length, this side is the breadth. And my aim was to calculate the perimeter, that is the total side length. I denote it as P. And I want the area enclosed. I need the area also. So what I want? I want to calculate area and I want to calculate the perimeter. The length was measured as 100 plus or minus 2 meter. This is actually the value from the given previous example. And you know it varies from 98 to 102. The breadth was 50 plus or minus 1. That means the variation was 49 minimum to 51 maximum. So what is the minimum length of the side? Minimum length of the side is 98, and what is the maximum? See, this is not the minimum value of the length measured. The minimum length measured, okay, I should actually write here the minimum length measured is 98 and the maximum length measured is 102. Minimum breadth is 49, maximum breadth is 51. Now how do we calculate perimeter? The perimeter is calculated as length of one side plus length of the other side plus breadth plus breadth. Of course you can use the equation 2 into L plus B, but this is the meaning of it. Whether you use 2 into L plus B, practically this is it, right? So this is what I am going to do. So if I am taking the minimum value of 98 and 102, minimum value of 98 and 49, are you getting my point? Minimum length is 98. If I combine minimum length and minimum breadth, and if I calculate, like I take here 98, here 98, here 49 and here 49, then I will get the minimum perimeter calculated. Now you should clearly know this is measured length and breadth, but this one is calculated. From that value I am calculating. Okay, so from the minimum value of that one, I will get a minimum area of 294. That is the lowest calculated value of perimeter. Maximum perimeter, if I use the maximum 102 and 51 and use this equation, I will get 306. Fine. Similarly, minimum area by taking 98 and 49, I'll get 4802 meter square, and the maximum if I take, I'll get 5202 meter square. So you understand, if I make a mistake in my length and the breadth, there will be mistakes in the perimeter and the area calculated. So whenever you use measured values, the calculated, measured, you use measured value in calculation, then definitely there will be variations. That's what I wanted to tell you. Just try this out. You don't study this as a possible question in examination. They will not ask you anything like this. This is exclusively asked in Riju and PSK classes by PRJ. That's for your understanding. Fine. So look at the diagram again. There is a rectangle. You measure the length, you measure breadth, then you calculate perimeter. Then there is error in the measurement, there is error in the calculation. I wanted to tell you that. Fine. Now, just summarizing that, measured length 100 plus or minus 2, measured breadth 50 plus or minus 1, calculated perimeter varies from 294 meter to 306. So I can say that the perimeter must be 100 plus 100 plus 50 plus 50. See, this is the true value. 100 is the true value, 50 is the true value. So what is the true value of the perimeter? You just use the true values, then you will get a 300, 150 plus 150, 300. But there is a variation, 6 meter. You can 294 to 306, there is a variation plus or minus 6 meter. Calculated area varies. The actual area, the true value of the area should be 5000. But there is a variation. Approximately, this is not exact, okay? This approximately there is a plus or minus 200 variation. Okay, what did you understand? If you have an error in the measured value, there will be variation in the calculated value. This is what we are going to learn next. So, just like the corona virus, error spreads from where to where? It spreads from measured values to calculated values. This is called propagation of error or combination of error. We are going to study this. Let us review this question. Okay. In this question, we know the length was 100 plus or minus 2 meter. So let me write length was 100 plus or minus 2 meter, and the breadth was 50 plus or minus 1 meter. You wanted perimeter, so what you did? You added this again, 100 plus or minus 2 meter, then again 50 plus or minus 1 meter. This is what actually you did for getting perimeter. So you can see this side, when you added, you will get 300. And you know, there was a variation of plus and minus 6. That's what you got from 294 and 306. 306 is 6 more than 300. 294 is 6 less than 300. So there is, that's why I wrote plus or minus 6 meter. And how did you get that plus or minus 6? Watch here. Any idea? If you get that before I tell you, then you are an awesome student. Can you tell me how did I get that plus 6? Yeah, exactly. It is by the addition of all these. If you add them, you will get that plus or minus 6 meter. Fine. But if I ask you the same thing about area, that is complicated. So we have to study how these has actually come. This is okay, easy to understand, very easy to understand. Fine. Now let us go forward and study what actually will happen. The spreading of error. Combination of errors are studied in two separate categories. One ruled for multiplication and division, another for addition and subtraction. Which one do you want first? Multiplication, division, or addition, subtraction? I know many of you will say, sir, first you tell us about addition and subtraction. Read the statement. Read the statement. What is it? When two quantities are added, two quantity means measured quantities are added or subtracted, then what will happen? The absolute error in the final result. is the sum of the absolute errors in the individual quantities. വല്ലതും മനസ്സിലായോ? Leave it. Second one, multiplication division. When two quantities are multiplied or divided, the relative error in the result is the sum of the relative errors or percentage errors in the multipliers. Multipliers or the numbers that you use to multiply or divide. This is not completely correct, it is applicable for division also. Let us take the first one. Let us take the first one. Let us take the first one. This is for addition and subtraction. Assume that I am going to add two values. One is measured as 100 plus or minus 2 meter. Second one is 50 plus or minus 1 meter. These are the two quantities which are going to be added. Take the example of addition. Then definitely you will get a result. That is what we call the final result. And the final result will have a true value plus or minus absolute error, because here you have a true value 1 and absolute error 1. There is a true value here, true value 2, absolute error 2. So when you add a true value 1 and true value 2, you will get the final result, this final result. Now what? The absolute error in the final result, absolute error in the final result, that means this part, this one. How to get this? Is the absolute, this one is the addition of the absolute errors in the individual quantities. So in the final answer, there will be an absolute error, and this is equal to sum of this. And I gave you example, this was taken as 2, this was taken as 1, 2 plus 1, this should be 3 and the unit is meter. Plus or minus 150. This is for addition. But see, same rule is applicable for subtraction. Same rule is applicable for subtraction. So if I tell you 100 plus or minus 2 meter minus 50 plus or minus 1 meter, what should I do? Again the same rule. Now this time you don't have to think about this one. You don't have to think about addition. You think only about subtraction and read the rule. Rule has not changed. So whether it is addition or subtraction, we are going to do the same thing. What is it? The absolute error in the final result, that is the error which is coming here, is the sum. So whether this is subtraction or addition, here this is sum. 100 minus 50. So your answer is 50 plus or minus 3 meter. Okay, once more. Suppose that you have 20 plus or minus 2 centimeter added with 8 plus or minus 1 centimeter. What is the answer? Look here. The two values can be directly added. This is 28 plus or minus. This is 2 plus 1, 3 centimeter. This is the correct answer. Now suppose I use the same value. This is set 1. Set 2, suppose I use the same thing to be subtracted. 20 plus or minus 20 centimeter minus 8 plus or minus 1 centimeter. Then what is your answer? 20 minus 8 you should do. 20 minus 8 is 12. Plus or minus, is it 2 minus 1 or is it 2 plus 1? That's a point that you should know. Is it 2 plus 1? This is subtraction. Should I subtract? No. Even if it is subtraction, this should be added. This is the correct method. So whether it is addition or subtraction, absolute error must be added. First rule should be clearly understood. After that, we will learn about the second rule. Okay. Now in examination in school, this will be asked to derive or proof. This should be mathematically proved, and for that we start a derivation like this. Whenever we have a derivation, okay, this is the first time I am talking about derivation. In a derivation, you will be using a lot of notations, a, z, b, so many terms are used. In the beginning, you should tell what this actually is. That means in the later step, suppose you are using z, you should be given initially what is z. In the first sentence itself, the meaning of z should be given. Here, suppose two physical quantities A and B have measured values A plus or minus delta A, B plus or minus delta B. What does it mean? There are two physical quantities A and B. A is measured. A is measured as A plus or minus delta A. So what does it mean? A is the true value, delta A is the absolute error. Similarly, B is also measured, B plus or minus delta B. B is the true value, delta B is the absolute error. Where delta A and delta B are their absolute errors. So from that one, wherever you see delta A, B, everything is explained that one. Now in the second statement, the error delta Z in the sum Z equal to A plus B. So what is Z? Z is the sum of A and B. And Z will have an error, and that error is delta Z. How to get this delta Z? Can be calculated as follows. What to do? Z plus or minus delta Z. This comes from sum of these two terms. So I will write A plus or minus delta A plus B plus or minus delta B. Okay. Now look here. A delta A, B delta B. Open this bracket and rearrange them. So A is clubbed with B. A plus B as one term. Then see, this term has got plus or minus, this also has got plus or minus, so that plus or minus is taken common, and in the bracket you get delta A plus delta B. Simple mathematics. Now what is A plus B? By definition, A plus B equal to Z. So you see, left side you have Z plus or minus delta Z, right side you have A plus B plus or minus delta A plus delta B. So what will happen? Z and A plus B will cancel. What is left here? Plus or minus delta Z equal to plus or minus delta A plus delta B. Now what is delta Z? Delta Z is the absolute error in Z. And how do we get that one? It is delta A plus delta B. And what is delta A and delta B? These are absolute errors in A and B. So what does it say? It says that the maximum possible error in Z is nothing but delta A plus delta B. Error in delta Z, error in Z is delta A plus delta B. This is the proof. Okay. This you have to write and study. Each of these terms should be clearly written. If you have any doubt, you can ask me so that I can explain this in the next class. Okay. Anyway, as we always do, I will explain this once more. Now the derivation. Let us do the derivation. Okay. Now the first point is that you write let A and B are two physical quantities. Two physical quantities measured as A plus or minus delta A and B plus or minus delta B. Let their sum be Z, that is Z equal to A plus B. Okay. Now, with the error consideration, that means by considering error or considering errors, consideration, with error consideration, we can write Z plus or minus delta Z equal to A plus or minus delta A bracket plus B plus or minus delta B. Now Z plus or minus delta Z is equal to, I told you, you can club them. A should be taken first, then you take a plus B, put a bracket, plus or minus, see plus or minus what is left here, delta A, and plus or minus plus delta B. But we know z equal to a plus b. So you have z on this side, a plus b on this side. So this z and this a plus b will get cancelled. And what will I get? I'll get plus or minus delta z equal to plus or minus delta a plus delta b. Now what is the meaning of this? Absolute error, that you can write like this one, absolute error in z is equal to absolute error in A plus absolute error in B. That's it. Now, how to apply this in a question? Suppose A equal to 10 plus or minus 1 second, B equal to 20 plus or minus 2 second, then what is Z equal to A plus B? What to do? Write first of all, to get the true value of Z, add them. This is equal to 10 plus 20, then plus or minus. To get a delta Z, what should you do? Delta A plus delta B. What is delta A? 1 bracket 1 plus 2 seconds. So your answer will be 30 plus or minus 3 seconds. This is the meaning of it. I hope it's clear. Now, see, addition we proved. Now subtraction can be little confusing. For understanding subtraction derivation, I suggest you to remember what I told you a bit earlier. I told you that A plus or minus delta A is actually A minus or plus delta A. Both are the same. You need to remember this. If you remember, the derivation will become very, very simple. Watch out. In subtraction, how to do this? In subtraction, okay, for the difference Z equal to A minus B, we have Z plus or minus delta Z equal to, write A with error, A plus or minus delta A, minus B with error, B plus or minus delta B. Now rearrange. What to say? A minus B, that is a single bracket. Then plus or minus delta A, plus or minus delta B, that is the second term. Now Z will cancel A minus B. So plus or minus delta Z equal to plus or minus delta A plus or minus delta B. Maximum value of error is again A delta A plus delta B. This is the idea. So whether you are subtracting or adding, final result is the same. Okay, let us do this in our own way. Let us do the derivation of subtraction. What to do? How to start? Consider. See, the beginning of a derivation can be different. You can write your own statement. It should be meaningful, that's it. Different textbooks, different teachers will present that in different way. Mathematical steps will be the same. Only the starting wordings, everything can be different. The sentences can be different. Consider two physical quantities. A and B such that Z equal to A minus B. Z equal to A minus B. Okay. With the errors Z plus or minus delta Z equal to A plus or minus delta A bracket minus B plus or minus delta B. This is by considering errors. In the previous derivation, I said something considering, or you can write considering errors. Okay, where delta Z, delta A, and delta B are, what are they? What are delta A, delta B, delta B? These are absolute errors. Are absolute errors. Okay. Now let us from this step, what to write? Write z plus or minus delta z is equal to, I am going to open the bracket, a plus or minus delta a. You see a minus sign applied to the bracket, minus b. Minus into plus will become minus, minus into minus will become plus. So, minus of plus or minus now will become minus of plus, minus or plus delta v. Okay. So, this is equal to, you can see this is equal to combine a minus b plus or minus delta a minus or plus delta b. This is z plus or minus delta z. Okay. Now, you can see z equal to a minus b, z equal to a minus b. So, we can say as z equal to a minus b, this will cancel. So, we will get plus or minus delta z is equal to plus or minus delta a. I told you minus or plus or minus represents the same thing. So, this is plus or minus delta b. Now, from this one we can say plus or minus delta z is equal to plus or minus common delta a plus delta b. So, in subtraction, the final absolute error is the sum of the absolute error. So, we can say absolute error in the difference is equal to sum of absolute errors. Absolute error in the difference is the sum of the absolute error. Immediately do a question. What is that? Say there is 100 plus or minus 5 kilogram, subtract 60 plus or minus 2 kilogram. What to do? 100 minus 60 should be written, that should be 40, plus or minus. Error must be added. What is that error? 5 plus 2, 7 kilogram. Fine. So, this is for doing numericals. Lot of numericals are coming in our way. If x equal to a plus b minus c, see this is an equation where you have addition as well as subtraction. X is given by a plus b minus c. Then absolute error in x, that means the error in x is equal to what? Absolute error in a plus absolute error in b plus absolute error in c. See whether the mathematically you are subtracting it, but error should be added. So, error in a plus error in b plus error in c. Suppose error in a is 1, error in b is 2 and error in c is 3. 1, 2, 3, then what is the error in x? That is 1 plus 2 plus 3, it's equal to 6. You will never subtract error. This is the best thing that you need to know. If you know this one, any question regarding this will be done. Okay, let us see. Let us see. Length and breadth of a rectangle is measured. The previous one, 100 plus or minus 2 meter. B, 50 plus or minus 1 meter. Calculate perimeter. Answer should be in the form the value of perimeter plus or minus absolute error in perimeter. This is what I want. This is a question and this is the form of the answer I want. Comment in the box. We will discuss that in the next class. Thank you so much.